Slammy, Ego, Slammy, Ego, Slammy, hey. You already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. But you know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome, episode 600 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here. It is May 23rd, 2024, and the Padres, they have just finished a 5-2 road trip. They took 2 out of 3 against the Cincinnati Reds. They take 3 out of 4 in Atlanta against the Atlanta Braves. Yes, it was a significant loss, the loss of Xander Bogaerts. We could talk about that more here on the show today. But to go to the East Coast like that, and you face a good Atlanta Braves team, and yes, I know it was extra innings today, but you're still able to do what you should against bad baseball teams, and that is at least win the series. I think we got to be happy with this road trip. Now, overall, like big picture, I could see how some fans are going to be disappointed in this road trip because of the Xander Bogaerts injury. Because it was an extra inning game today, because they didn't do anything against Abbott in the first game, or they didn't like the offensive performance in that second game of the doubleheader. You know, if you wanted to nitpick, yeah, sure. But this Padres team, what needed to happen was finish this road trip above 500, come back to San Diego before this Yankees series and be above 500. And that's what this Padres team is. It's where they're at. And so as a Padres fan right now, I'm happy with where they're at. We've got the top of the rotation coming up for the Yankees series. Darvish, game 1, Cease game 2 against Stroman, by the way. That's going to be fun. And then game 3, Joe Musgrove will be on the mound that Sunday game. So, and then they face the Miami Marlins, Luis Arraez's former team. So the Yankees, another tough opponent, but the Padres this year, they've been able to play up to those opponents. So I'm actually feeling pretty confident going in. The only one thing I would look at is obviously the Yankees offense, but just watching these last innings of this Reds game here today, Suarez was used, Estrada was used, so that probably takes them out for tomorrow because they were used heavily. Suarez, I believe, was pitching back-to-back days here. So that probably takes Suarez out of the equation tomorrow, but you still have someone like Wandy Peralta. You still have some options there. So we'll see. What the Padres needed to do was take 2 out of 3, and that's what they did. If you want to join the show, click that link that is pinned up at the top of the chat. I will get to the comments as I always do. I appreciate those that are taking the time here. There's many ways to consume Padres content, and I'm thankful that Padres fans, you chose to spend some time here listening or watching this show. But let's get into, we'll work our way backwards. Let's get into today's 6-4 win in 10 innings. I love that the big guys, Manny and Toddy, they came through, needed that. And we need that consistently from those guys. Obviously with the Bogey injury, but even if Bogey was healthy, still need those guys to be better, perform more consistently if the Padres want to comfortably, in my opinion, get into the postseason here, which is a long ways away. It's May 23rd, but just saying, like it doesn't look great overall this season. But Manny taking it the other way. I don't know about you guys. There's that nickname, right, that some people call the Reds Stadium Great American Small Park. It didn't seem very small this series. I know Arraez had that homer the other day, but there were some. Merrill, I thought, hit the ball a couple of times really well today, and it didn't go out. I thought there were some that were hit well, and it's like, oh, nope, that's just a fly ball, regular fly ball to the outfield. But Manny, good job out of him. 2-0 lead there in the first with the doubles. Yeah, 2-1, Candelario on the triple. But then in the top of the second, Luis Arraez, he has that single. Sorry, that was the key moments. I want to go to all of Higgy with the ground out. That made it 3-1. That's right. The sack ground out there. Peralta was on third. Merrill was on second in that situation. Makes it 3-1 there. Arraez had the single. brought in Merrill, made it 4-1. Bottom two, Jacob Hurtubise makes it 4-2. Padres still had the lead there, though. That was on the single off of Waldron. I thought Waldron, and I'll get into his performance here in a moment. I thought that he pitched pretty well today. Last few outings he's been pitching well, and it's been 2 of the 3 outings have been against good teams. Bottom 6, Martini hits the 2-run homer, and that ties it up. Of course, a former Padre. The real ones know who Nick Martini is. It's not like he was this amazing producer for the Padres, but you do remember Nick Martini if you were watching all those games, even when the Padres were not, they were not at the talent level that they are at now. But he homers, of course, because it's a former Padre, made it 4-4, and then there was no scoring. Last 3 innings until we get to the top of the 10th, where Tatis needed this so badly. He has not been the Tatis that we wanted so far this season, I think, offensively as a whole. So for him to come through like that, what I liked going through that at bat in my head right now is first pitch, I believe he didn't swing at, which is good because and it's been pointed out, and I agree with some people that have pointed this out in the YouTube comments, that it feels like Tatis, he's swinging too much at those first pitches, like lay off, make the pitcher earn it. And I do agree with that to an extent. There's some where it's like, it feels like he's being too aggressive. He wants to help the team and provide an impact so much that he's just swinging at the first pitch. And that hasn't been working out I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I don't think it has been working out that great. But this at bat, he made sure to get the pitch that he wanted. I don't agree with the pitch who is that, Mole? I think that's who was on the mound at the time. I don't agree with the pitch that he did there. That pitch kind of was running in, I believe, on Toddy down the line. I think he could have kept going with the breaking balls away a little bit there, and maybe try to get Tatis to chase. But as a Padres fan, thank you for doing what you did there in that at bat. Tatis gets the ball down the line, makes it 5-4. Croney not trying to do too much, realizing the situation, just get the ball in the air and we'll be fine. Brings in Arraez, makes it 6-4, and that was that. Padres win. Jeremiah Estrada continues to be great. I thought I was a little concerned when I think it was a 3-ball count in not the 9th inning, but I think the inning before that. And it should have been ball 4. India ends up striking out swinging, and he threw that, he kept missing glove side in that at bat. Kept missing, kept going there, and he did it again on ball 4, but he gets India to go chase on it because India didn't want to strike out in that spot. I think it was a 3-2 count. Could be wrong. But India swings, and, when you're that nasty, you're going to get some of those where that's not really like the best pitch from Jeremiah Estrada. It's more that Jonathan India gave it to him, but you're not going to take it back. You're going to say thank you. And then coming out after that, he was really good. He ends up striking out 5 in total, a .66 ERA. Endo De Los Santos, he was another guy that was a little bit up and down today, 2/3 of an inning, 2 earned runs. They give him the blown save there in that 6th inning. He didn't have it, but then he did have it. He gives up the home run. I think he walked the first guy, but then after that, he was able to rebound, got a couple of strikeouts to keep it where it was at there. Matsui goes an inning and a third. Got to give props to him. Doesn't give up any runs. Estrada, no runs in 2 innings of work. Suarez, no runs in that inning of work. Estrada's ERA, .66. Robert Suarez's ERA, .40. Amazing. 14 saves on the year for Robert Suarez. He is earning every penny of that contract that the Padres gave him before last season. So huge props to him. He is one of the Padres all-stars, I would say, at this point in time. I think you can make an argument for Jurickson Profar, although for the all-star game, you probably want more of the superstars in there, but Profar's been great. Luis Arraez, that's another one that I would think about. Dylan Cease is another guy that I would think about. Arraez, man, so freaking impressive. He had 10 hits this series. 10 hits in 3 games. 4 hits today. He had 4 hits yesterday. And when Arraez had a multi-hit game, we knew that was guaranteed earlier today when he got that second hit. I went through looking like, okay, how old is Luis Arraez? Okay, he's in his age 27 season. So let's go look at Tony Gwynn because obviously there's that comparison. And what I got, so this was Arraez's 8th consecutive multi-hit game today. 8th consecutive. As Mud said post-game, that's not a typo. I believe he's gotten on base in every game for the Padres so far this season as he's been a Padre. I think his on-base streak at one point, either in this series or entering this series, was 26 games. So that has only continued to build. But getting back to the Tony Gwynn and Luis Arraez comparison, Tony Gwynn's longest multi-hit game streak in his age 27 season was 4 games. Arraez has doubled that right now. That's just super impressive. So, like, obviously, for anyone that knows me, that's not me trying to, give a slight at Tony Gwynn or anything like that. Love Tony Gwynn. Not trying to slight him. I'm trying to prop up Luis Arraez. Like, do you know how impressive that is? 8 consecutive is bonkers. 8 consecutive multi-hit games. When Tony Gwynn, one of the best hitters ever, his longest in his age 27 season was 4. I didn't go through all of his years and see what was his career longest multi-hit game streak. That would take me a while. Unless I could just look it up and maybe it shows up. I didn't look it up. I went through his age 27 season through Baseball Reference and looked through all of the games from that season to see what that was. Now, if you go to Tony Gwynn's Baseball Reference page for that year, what you're going to see is a lot of one-hit games. He had long hitting streaks. It's not like you didn't see a whole lot of that. So definitely not knocking Tony. That is, you'll have some fun. I think Padres, especially long-time Padres fans that were fortunate enough to watch Tony in his prime, to go back through those game logs and see how many days he had a hit. Obviously, when you have the high batting average, that's expected. But just going through that, it's like, man, that's so cool to see because you just don't see that very much in today's game. And so, like, to have Luis Arraez on this team makes me so happy. He seems so happy. I don't know if anyone watched or listened to his post-game interview with Don and Mud up there in Cincinnati, but man, he seems like so much more happier here than with the Marlins. He has a shot to win. Where with the Marlins, sure, you're playing Major League Baseball, you're living your dream, but you're not living the dream to the max, if that makes sense. I wouldn't think if you're Luis Arraez, because you're not on an actual contending team. You're on a team that doesn't want to spend money. You're on a team that gets rid of Kim Ng and Skip Schumacher. He's not going to be there next year as their manager. Now you get to be refreshed going to the Padres. So I'm glad that it seems like he's super happy. After today's game, he's hitting .341 this season, has an .804 OPS. Profar 942. Those are the top OPSs on the team. If you don't include David Peralta, obviously he just started, and he had 3 hits today. And that's another guy where it seems like he's kind of getting a restart on his career because he gets to be on a contender. He's not sitting there in El Paso. He's not sitting there, I think, in Iowa, wherever the Chicago Cubs AAA affiliate is. He gets to be in the big leagues and gets to be on a team where he knows some guys. It's a contending team. It's probably pretty easy to get up in the morning if you're Luis Arraez, if you're David Peralta. Donovan Solano is another guy, I did want to hit on Tatis. I know I'm kind of jumping around here, not going through all the details of every game. I probably will at some point here today in this show. But Toddy, just how big that hit was today, because it seems like and we've seen this, right? When he has slumped before, where it seems like he tries to swing himself out of it and he's not within himself. And that's what I've seen sometimes here a little bit this season from Toddy is like, man, stay within yourself. I'm almost to the point where it's like, Fernando, and I'm not a hitting coach, obviously, like they know more than we do, but if it's not a fastball in like your happy place, first pitch, don't swing. I don't care if it's down the middle and it's a breaking ball. I'm almost at the point where like just don't swing first pitch unless it is perfect because it feels like he's being too aggressive right now. I obviously already hit on that earlier moments ago, but that's what it feels like to me is he's being too aggressive, swinging at the first pitch too much, and that's not helping. And he's rolling over balls. We saw that in this Cincinnati series. So we'll see if he makes some adjustments there or if he keeps doing it and he just gets better pitches to hit. Or what I liked, I think it was yesterday, took the ball the other way, right? Saw that there was movement at second base, saw that it was open, just and hit it hard on the ground the other way. Stuff like that. That's what I want to see more from Fernando. Sure, you can pull a ball down the line if it makes sense, like today in the 10th, but using all fields, try to get really back to being the Fernando that we want to see up there at the plate. But just overall today, I mean, a 6-4 win, sure, you don't want to have to go to extra innings against the 20-30 last place in the NL Central Cincinnati Reds. But what matters the most, especially when we got the Yankees coming up, is to take care of business on the road. You're facing a bad team. Go take this series. And that's what the Padres did. Bottom line, take the series. And so, yeah, I'm good. Matt Waldron, 5 innings, 2 earned runs. This is after some good Dodger and Braves outings. Keeping you in games. That's really all you can ask for from Matt Waldron. Maybe you want him to pitch a little bit better because he's facing the Reds. But the knuckleball, sometimes it looked good. Sometimes it didn't today. Some pitches left over the middle of the plate. I think Candelario was the one that got him. Or was that yesterday? Let me go back here. Candelario had the triple off of him today. Yeah. Could have been a little bit better, I think, with Waldron. But remember, this guy's the 5 starter. He throws his knuckleball a lot. He's not, Tim Wakefield, but sometimes he's relying on that knuckleball. He's got to hit spots, rely on location. With him, like I just said, if he keeps the Padres in games, then I am all for keeping Matt Waldron in this rotation, continuing to have him as the 5 starter. I don't know when that point's going to be when you try to bring Johnny Brito back up and see what he can give you, or Randy Vasquez. But right now, you're going to, if it ain't broke, don't go fix it, right? And right now, having Matt Waldron in the rotation is not broke. And you have Darvish pitching great. You have Cease. You have Musgrove coming back, who came back in this series. And that's a good transition into yesterday's outing for Joe. And I'll get to that here in a second. And then you have Michael King, who it's been up and down with him. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's not that great. Sometimes it's great during outings, and that was the case in yesterday's. So I will get to Joe here in a second. That was the case in yesterday's game with Michael King, and Nick Martinez was on the mound on the other side of things. Padres get this win 7-3. And with Michael King, he did retire 12 guys in a row at one point, but he did get into a little bit of trouble allowing that home run to Heimer Candelario, and he ends up giving up 3 earned runs in his outing. What I did like, though, is he almost got through 7 innings, and I think he could have. Schilt decided to take him out, and there was a little bit of conversation on social media about that because I posted the clip of Mike Schilt kind of looking back at Michael King as Michael King wasn't looking at Schilt, and he was pissed off that he was coming out of the game. Like, come on, dude, let me get through 7 innings. But Schilt, he likes that. He was saying essentially, like, I'd rather have that than a guy be looking for me and be like, hey, all right, so anytime now, man. You want that competitiveness to stay in the game from your starter. And so I love that from Michael King, that competitiveness. At the end of the day, like he almost went 7 innings and he gave you 3 earned runs. Like he still gave you that quality start, struck out 6, sure walked a couple, gave up a homer, but like I'm going to take that from Michael, the 4 starter most of the time. You want, to mix in those like great Dodger outings, but that outing like that, keep him in it. and then the offense can show up as well. I loved what I saw. Guys not trying to do too much last night. I talked about Nando taking the ball the other way. Arraez with his homer, first homer as a Padre, first homer this season for him as well. That was a no-doubter. As much of a no-doubter as it can be off of the bat of Luis Arraez. And then Manny with that double. And by the way, before that, Peralta had the fielder's choice. I'm liking David Peralta in this lineup right now. Profar scored, Manny to third. And by the way, Manny had that double beforehand, before the Peralta fielder's choice, to put Profar in the position to score on that fielder's choice. So, like, passing it on to the next guy, doing your job, not trying to do too much, obviously, again. Nando with the single made it 3-1. Profar goes the other way. Croney goes the other way as well. It's 5-1 after 5 innings. Wadey with the single makes it 6-1. Arraez with the single, 7-1. And then that was that. Gave up a couple runs. 7-3 there in the bottom of the 6th. Tyler Stevenson got that double, but Wandy comes in, inning and a third, no earned runs, didn't walk anyone. And Suarez comes in, an inning for him, no runs. There was lightning. Anyone that was watching that, they saw that, and Suarez was not phased at all. And he was focused on getting that job done. And by the way, it was not a save situation. Let's remember that. Suarez might have thought it was, because any situation he goes into, Padres have a lead. He probably thinks, he goes with that mentality, yeah, save situation. I got to do my job here. But technically, it was not a save situation, so he does not get that save. But comes in, does his job, lowers that ERA even more than it's already at, which is very low. And yeah, got to love what you saw for the most part from this Padres team yesterday to get that win. The first game of this series was what was disappointing, because I think you're facing a guy that not a lot of Padres fans have heard of. Andrew Abbott, I think was his name. Yeah, Andrew Abbott. Now, his ERA is good, 2.68. He goes 7 innings, no runs, only struck out 2, but allow this guy to go 7 innings and you don't do anything off of him. You go 0 for 1 with runners in scoring position. So, 1, you don't come through in that spot. And then 2, you have almost no opportunities with a guy on second base or a guy on third. That can't happen when you're facing the Cincinnati Reds. And I think that's when fans got frustrated, because that was coming off of the second game of that doubleheader from the night before, where you don't do anything off the Braves. It was Chris Sale, so that's a little bit different. That's why I was more willing to tip my cap the Chris Sale game than to tip my cap when you're facing Andrew Abbott and you're facing the Cincinnati Reds. So that was disappointing. But when you take 2 out of 3 still, you win the series, you have a 5-2 road trip. I'm not going to get too mad at the team for, taking at the end of the day, you take care of business, you win series, you're going to be a postseason team. It's when you don't win the series, you don't do that, then that's when we're going to go back to, well, it would have been nice to get those sweeps, right? And I don't want to sit here and excuse that game. No, they got to be better. Offense, especially when you're in the game, you got to do better. You lost this game, what, 2-0? Yeah, 2-0. You're in the game. It's not like it was 5-0. So yeah, they got to be better. But you have a 5-2 road trip. I'm not going to complain too much. Musgrove came back. It was good that we were able to get him back. And I didn't think he was that bad. Sure, the pitch count got up there. He was on a pitch limit, so we knew that he wasn't going to go long, especially when he had that long inning. He goes 3 innings, 1 earned run. That got changed, I think, because I thought that it was no earned runs and it was 2 runs allowed, not 1 earned run and 2 runs allowed. So was that some friendly Cincinnati scorekeeping there? Because let's face it. So yeah, Musgrove, that was a bad throw, but maybe Kim should have stopped that on the pickoff. Then there was the play at the plate where Campy doesn't hold on to the ball. I mean, I think the runner was out, but Campy didn't hold on to it, so he ends up scoring. So there was that. There was the ball that got past Croney at first, hit pretty hard, but Croney had a glove on it, didn't get it. And so it was some bad breaks there. Then the rest of the bullpen, Morahone, 2 innings, no runs. Brito, inning and 2/3, no runs. Kolek, inning, no runs. Matsui, an inning, no runs. Kolek, 1/3 of an inning, got that out that he had there. The pitching, they did their job. And just be a little bit more smooth defensively, not give them those runs there. And maybe the Padres win in extras. Bottom line, I mean, regardless of what happened there, like the offense, it's got to be better than what it was on that night. Now, they can have the excuse of, well, 3 games in like 33 hours or whatever it was. Like, yeah, that's pretty tough, I would think, on Major League Baseball players. But fans that actually work jobs, they probably don't want to hear that. So I could see where fans get frustrated with that. That's why I came out before game 2 and I was like, okay, you got plenty of rest. You can't use that excuse. You got to come through here in these next 2 games and take this series to finish off what would be, if they did that, a successful 5-2 road trip. And that's what they did. So all in all, I'm happy with it. Now, obviously, this road trip, there was that big injury, which was the Xander Bogaerts news. I've already hit on this and given my reaction to him going on the IL. But for the podcast audience, I can give my reaction more. Bogaerts thinks that he's going to be out for a month. That's what he's hoping for, more like 1 month instead of 2 to 3. Kevin Acee says 2 to 3 or could be more, which is worrisome. But I'm glad that we have Luis Arraez. Like, if you want to look at this glass half full, it's not Jurickson Profar production-wise that we lost right there. Yes, defensively, that's a downgrade. Bogaerts was actually pretty good among second baseman defensively, and Luis Arraez is not. But there's the position change today, which I'll hit on here in a second. Glass half full, so you have Luis Arraez on the roster. So you could put him at second. You could put Jake Cronenworth, who played plenty of second base before moving to first. You could put him there. You could put the less athletic, the lesser defender at first. You could put Solano at first if you want. Arraez at first. There's options there. So it's not the end of the world there. And this allows you to have Arraez in the lineup pretty much every day instead of using he's hitting against a left-hander excuse, which, as Padres fans, like, we want Arraez in this lineup every day. Come on. So Arraez in the lineup, I think it gives more at-bats to Donovan Solano. Let's not forget about Tyler Wade, who can be at second base late in games and kind of be the Jose Azocar of the infield. Late in a game, take your worst defender on the infield out of it and put Tyler Wade in there maybe. He's got some speed as well. So there's some, if you want to look at it glass half full, you can look at it glass half full. It just sucks because he was getting going. It always sucks that when an injury happens. But he was on a 6-game hitting streak, I think. 6-game on base, whatever it was, going into Monday. And then he dives. Here's like 4 cracks, I think is what he told Dennis Lin. And you knew that something, I mean, we didn't hear the cracks, but he knew when he heard that what was going to be it was going to be an issue there. And we're just watching the game, and you can see immediately he's rolling over. He couldn't finish the play, has to flip the ball over to Kim, and it's like, oh boy, this is not good. And you get the flashback of the Trevor Story. I know it's not the Padres, but Red Sox and Anaheim, I think, earlier this year. You get that flashback of Story diving, and now he's out for the season. So Bogaerts can say all he wants. He's a quick healer. I think that was one of his quotes. Oh, quick healer. And not 2 to 3 months, 1 month. But who knows how his body's going to feel a couple weeks down the road. I think it just can't be stated enough how fortunate we are to have Luis Arraez on this team as Xander goes down. Because if we didn't have Luis Arraez, we wouldn't have those 10 hits in the Cincinnati series right now. Obviously, you just wouldn't have the great production at the top of the order with Arraez there. And you would have probably Tyler Wade getting more playing time. You'd have Solano. You don't have as much flexibility with the DH spot, right? If because that's one less bat guy. I mean, you could have Peralta do it, I guess, right? But I think there would be a little bit less flexibility there. So, yeah, super fortunate. Not just to have Arraez, but Solano, of course. Peralta, bringing him up and having him available in your organization, signing him to a minor league deal, and you can just call him up after like 3 games or whatever it was with El Paso as an extra bat, which I'm not surprised when I look back on the Padres calling Peralta up, because if you think about it, you already have Wade, already have Solano, already have Arraez, Kim, Manny, Croney. What is that? 6 infielders there? Do you need to have Eggy up and have 7 and only have 4 outfielders? Peralta, he could be a DH or a bat off the bench option. They like a Zokar as a 4th outfielder. Your outfielders are playing every day anyway. Tatis, he's playing every day. Profar, he's playing every day. He's like one of your best offensive producers, And then Merrill should be playing pretty much every day. So it's not like you have like a platoon guy in one of the outfield spots. So it makes sense to have that extra bat that can help with the flexibility DH wise. I just kind of hit on that DH flexibility there. A veteran, it's someone who feels like he's re-energized by being on this Padres team. So, yeah, those are just some of my thoughts from this series. I will get to the chat here in a little bit. Just double checking if there's anything that I wanted to get to. The Croney at second base today. That's one thing I wanted to hit on. So, with Jake being at second, Arraez was at first, and DHing today was Tatis. So Solano was not in the lineup. Is Jake Cronenworth at second base? Is that the Padres' best option overall? Not just defensively, but overall. And I would say yes. I think putting your most athletic guy, someone we know is really good defensively at second base, has the range, middle infield, a lot of experience there. I think putting Arraez at first, I think you're covering up. You can cover that up a little bit easier at first, in my opinion, than sticking Luis Arraez at second base. Those double play turns. I don't know if some saw, but it seems like Arraez is a little bit slow on those double play turns, and Croney is not. He just jumped right in there, and he seems super comfortable, which he should be because he has all that experience. I'm not saying Croney is bad at first. I've liked him at first, but considering the options, you want Arraez in the lineup, DH spot on a day where you want Manny there or Tatis there. Probably take Solano out of that DH spot, right? Peralta out of that spot. And you want Arraez still in the lineup, though, right? Croney, I think that's an upgrade at second base. That allows you to keep Kim at shortstop. Manny at third most nights. I think that's your best. Tyler Wade, you can say, yeah, you could put him there at second base, but I'm talking about overall. I'm not talking about 8th inning with a lead or, once a week. Just like almost everyday lineup, everyday defensive positioning. What is that best alignment? And I think on the right side of the infield, second base and first base, I think that the Padres are better off having Croney with more range being at second base than having Luis Arraez be there at second base and Croney there at first. Now, Croney, what I will say, him playing first, he does play off the line. I think he has worked on that, him playing off the first base line. So maybe you can make up for that a little bit. I wonder where Luis Arraez is most comfortable, though. I'm sure the Padres have had conversations. I think if you ask Jake where he would prefer playing, I don't think he'd probably go with the team player thing. Like, I don't care where I play. I'm comfortable at both positions now with the reps that I've gotten at first base. So far this year, if we look at where Luis Arraez played defensively, at second base, he's at 39 games, so he has more experience there. 5 games at first. This was entering the series finale against the Reds. 8 at DH, 1 as a pinch hitter. So, in terms of being comfortable this season, I guess second base, but maybe he feels like first base is more suitable for him as well because he realizes, like, yeah, Croney's probably the better defender, which he is. I mean, Arraez is, I think Dennis Lin had something about this, like the worst defensive, I don't know about infielder, but I think like the worst outs above average defensive second baseman in the league, where Bogaerts was near the top. And if Cronenworth was playing second base the whole year, he would definitely be more near the top. If we go Luis Arraez's total career and where he has played, he's played 324 games at second. He's played 82 at first. So plenty of more games at at second than at first. But I think if, we're being honest here, what makes the most sense? Probably Croney at second base and Arraez not being at second base. 82 games career at first, 324 at second, 72 at third. He's played shortstop, 6 games at short, 45 in left, 56 DH, 37 pinch hitter, and 4 as a pinch hitter for the DH. So those are the career positional splits there for Luis Arraez. But yeah, give your thoughts. What do you think the best alignment is? Arraez, Cronenworth, Solano, you can throw in there. Wade, I guess you can throw in there, but I think we can agree he's not an everyday player. But yeah, I did want to hit on that. All right, quick break, and then I will get to the chat. Check out Gaglione Bros' famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries on Friars Road. You can visit their website, gaglionebros.com, for their entire menu and enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and Snapdragon Stadium as well. Also, a reminder about some of the other great partners of the show. Breaking Tea, Great Padres, Aztecs, and Wave shirts and sweatshirts. Click that link in the description there to go get some of those. Some great Padres shirts that they've already put out this year. San Diego Wave, by the way, they play tonight. The rivals, I guess you could say. The Wave have had more success than Angel City, no doubt about that. That matchup is tonight, CBS Sports Network. The Wave, I believe Alex is going to be back. Naomi's going to be back. Jaden Shaw's going to be back. I think they're all going to get some type of minutes tonight against Angel City. That is, I believe, at 7 o'clock tonight. Wave are looking for their first road win of the year, so hopefully they can get that. Savannah McCaskill returning to her old stomping grounds there. I'm sure she's going to get a nice reception, not from the Angel City crowd. Underdog Fantasy, as you see in the description or the ticker if you're watching on YouTube, you will get a free pick to claim, special pick, and first time 50% deposit match up to $250 on Underdog Fantasy when you use code Talking Friars or you click that link in the description. I appreciate anyone who does that. Anyone that knows, that watches Pregame Thoughts. I don't do that every day because sometimes other obligations get in the way, work, life. But when I do it, I give you my Padres pick suggestion, and I think most of the time I'm correct. Most of the time. Doesn't mean I'm correct on my personal pick with, the other pick that I do. But I feel like since I follow the Padres like day in, day out, I feel like my success rate is pretty good there. Then SeatGeek, same code, Talking Friars, $20 off your first order there with SeatGeek. All right, let's get to the chat, see what y'all are saying. Again, if you want to join the show, click that link that's pinned up at the top of the chat. If you have any Padres thoughts, Irie says, W, good signs with David Peralta. Yeah, he hit that ball 100 miles per hour today, I think, in his first at-bat. That first hit as a Padre stung that ball. Mike says, great road trip. Now let's try and win some games at home for a change. Yeah, that would be nice. Especially that Marlins series. If you don't win the Yankee series, it's the top of the rotation, so it would be a little bit disappointing. But it is still like the best team in the American League, I think, right now. So it's a little bit more understandable than, let's say, the Rockies and getting swept by the Rockies, right? If it's a bad series against the Yankees, they better make up for that with that Marlins series. I'll say that. John says, good to see Fernando knocking in some RBIs. Yeah, he was the man in that 10th inning today. Ari says, Peralta hits over 300 at Petco. Hopefully he can keep that up. Yeah. Well, I think we got to consider that some of those numbers, who were the guys that he was facing when he was in his prime with the D-backs? I don't think he was facing Dylan Cease and, Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish all the time. He was at some point, but not super consistently. I remember, if we just let's go to David Peralta's baseball reference page here. Peralta. And his highest batting average years, 2020, 2018, where he was hitting almost 300, 2017. I'm sure he did a lot of that damage at Petco Park in those years. Well, who were the pitchers that he was facing? Obviously my point, it's not like he was facing great pitching the entire time he was at Petco. I don't expect him to hit over 300 at Petco, but could be surprised. David says, absolutely. Let's get some home wins. Galapagos says, batting leaders in Major League Baseball. Shohei Ohtani, 354. Luis Arraez, 341. And Jurickson Profar, 337. Is that true? That's top 3 in all of Major League Baseball? I got to check that. Because if that's the case, man, that's... Okay, so what I've got is Ohtani is 1 at 348. Arraez is 2nd at 341. Lamont Wade Jr. is 339. Salvador Perez is 337. Profar is 337. So Profar is tied for 4th with Salvi. That's what I see. But no doubt about it, that's still impressive. We got 2 guys in the top 4 in Major League Baseball on average. And I know average is not everything, but it's significant when you're up at the top. That means you're getting on base at a pretty darn good clip. And that's the case for Arraez and Profar. And that's why you see those guys in the top 3 in this lineup. Yep. Hit machine, Luis Arraez. Hit machine. Hey, I got to smile when we take 5 out of 7 on a road trip, huh? Let's see. Irie says, Jake's clutch sack fly and extras. How hard was that for us last year? Bunt him over, get the sack fly. Yeah. Well, the bunt, that's what, Arraez, I think, he laid down the bunt, right? Merrill had one earlier today. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because that was going to slip my mind. But yeah, that was big. Getting the runner over, I think, who was that? Peralta on the bases? Who was that? Campy was on second, I think. But yeah, getting that runner to third, that was so big. I know that it didn't seem that big because Tatis just went and doubled, so he would have scored. But I think it takes a little bit of pressure. I hope it does. Takes a little bit of pressure off hitters going up there, seeing that there's a runner on third and be like, okay, I don't have to hit a ball in the gap or down the line. Just put the ball in play, get a ball in the air to the outfield, and we can bring a run in here at extras. If it doesn't put less pressure on the hitters, at least it puts more pressure, hopefully, on the pitcher, seeing that there is a runner 90 feet away. Less than 90, because they obviously they're not sitting there on third base at the start of the play, but you get my point. Rocket Dog says we should have gave Profar more than a 1-year contract. Well, no, I disagree with that, because we didn't know that this was going to happen. And would he want to, unless it's like an offer that blows the Padres out of the water at the end of this season, why would he go somewhere else when he is super comfortable here? San Diego, Like, that's the place that he performs the best. And as long as the Padres, give him more than $1 million next year, if they want to give Profar, it's not going to be $20 million on a 1 year. I don't think it would be a long-term deal. Maybe it's 2 years at 15 mil. I don't know. It's not going to be 1 mil at this rate, obviously. But no, I disagree with maybe 2 years at like very cheap, but they weren't going to go long-term coming off the year that Profar just had. A lot of things can change. I was totally okay with it being 1 year. And if Profar goes somewhere else after this year, it's like the best contract in Padres history. $1 million for a guy that should be like an all-star this year. I mean, come on. Dylan says Tatis's body language has been bad this entire series, swinging out of his shoes, chasing the same pitches. His head has been down and his body is physically slumping during at-bats. That hit was different. Well, yeah, he was pumped up because I think he knows that he's been letting his team down a little bit this year. So I think that he knows, and it feels good for him to be able to perform and come through in that moment like that. About to get on a plane, could be losing that Red Series, which that's a lot different. 4-3 against 5-2. That's different. Losing a series to the Reds or winning a series, you go 5-2 on a road trip, and you get to go back to San Diego. It's a different thing there. So he should be pumped up getting that hit. Maybe. Dope Play says Arraez is helping swing for the yard mentality. Maybe. I'd like to say that, but before Arraez, there was Profar, there was Merrill, who were doing some things, right? Schilt likes, and it seems like the coaching staff as well. They're preaching and have been preaching the fundamentals of the game. So maybe if Arraez is helping that, then great. But I hope that they had that mentality before Arraez. And I did see that. I was seeing some moments there before Arraez came of, the change a little bit in that mentality. So we'll see. Yeah, game one, Campy, got to hold on to the ball in that situation there. But I'm not going to say it's his fault. The Padres didn't score. So, I mean, if it was 0-0, you can't win a baseball game 0-0. There's no ties. Yeah, Jesse Agler, Enrique, good shout here about the extra inning games. Jesse Agler, I think he tweeted something out about that's 5 extra inning wins, 5 straight or something this year for the Padres. It's been much better, really good. And the Padres are over 500. So like the execution part, not trying to do too much, it's there for sure. Thank you, Bill, for the super chat. Says, boy, am I sick and tired of watching Hader go multiple innings multiple times now that he has his almighty money. Sure could have used that Hader in 2023 after missing the playoffs by just a pair of games. Yep, that is totally true. And yeah, although I'm not watching Astros games every night, it sucks seeing, but are we surprised? We shouldn't be surprised that we're seeing this. He's gotten his money. He got his long-term security. If the Padres would have given him a long-term contract, then he would have done what he is doing now. I think so. I think he would have. So as a Padres fan, I won't forget that Josh Hader didn't put his full best foot forward to try to go win last year. But if you take a step back and you take your Padre fan hat off, which we can't for some of us, right? Because we just love the team so much. If you take that hat off, let's say you're a Reds fan and you're just looking at the situation, you're looking like, no, Josh, I understand Josh Hader and what he was doing there because the Padres aren't investing in him long-term. They gave Robert Suarez a long-term contract, not him. They're giving extensions to the other guys, not Josh Hader. And you want Josh to go pitch multiple innings and risk his health, and then he doesn't get the long-term contract when this is going to be his one big bite at the apple in free agency. So I understand it from both sides. I just can't really take that Padre fan hat off because of how much I love this team and how much of a big opportunity it was last year. Now with Josh Hader, he's never won a World Series. He's never gotten to a World Series. So he may look back at the end of his career and be like, man, that was the most talented team I will ever be on. And what if I would have gone a little bit more, put myself a little bit more out there? What would have happened? Because all it takes is the Padres playing well at the end of the year, which they were, by the way, and get into the postseason, and maybe you see what happens. But that's just one of those what ifs. I'm kind of tired of talking about 2023, to be honest. I feel like I've talked about it enough. But it was a super chat that came up, so I wanted to hit on it. Thank you so much for that, though. I appreciate your support of the channel. It's frustrating, but I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm surprised by it. I don't know if anyone read the ESPN article that was put out by Buster Only, but it was the hater rules, and the Padres allowed that. They knew what they were getting themselves into. They still wanted that dominant reliever, and there you go. It would have been nice in the I thought Hader said something about the hater rules not being in effect in the postseason and him being willing to do whatever. It would have been nice for him to be in that game against Bryce Harper. But I believe at the time I was like, no, I'm fine with Suarez being in that situation. That was a freaking nasty changeup that Harper laid off earlier in the at bat. And it wasn't even that bad of a pitch. Harper just was the hottest hitter on the planet and took it the other way. He has out of this world power, you know? So I was fine with Suarez pitching in that spot. But if you're going to go on matchups, like who would you rather have in the game in that spot, I guess? Probably Hader, because it is the lefty on lefty. It's Hader's arm angle and everything that's coming at you. But Robert Suarez, it's not like he was trash. He was pitching really good in that postseason. So it just didn't work out. But yeah, there is that what if Hader was pitching to Harper in that spot. Who knows? But we could point to Manaea shouldn't have been as bad as he was. Clevenger, stuff that happened in that series. The check swing against Profar, I remember in that one game. So that was, man, it's just what ifs. What if? Let's see here. Where did I leave off? Oh, yeah, John says here, I didn't even think about the Soto drama until I saw Yanks highlights. He's mashing. Of course he is. Again, should we be surprised by that either? No. Free agent year, Yankee Stadium. He's got some protection there. I'm not surprised by it. Juan Soto's a really good baseball player. He was our best offensive player last year. Ben, any chance you do a show with Jim and John? Yeah, of course. I've had both of them on my show. I've been on their show. Do you mean like have both of them come on my show at the same time? Maybe. I don't know if John wants to spend more time with Jim than he already does, though. Just kidding, Jim. Love you, dude. He's getting married this weekend, by the way. So, in terms of like right now, no. There. He's got some other stuff going on right now. But yeah, of course, love those guys. Oh, yep. Just as Tyler says here, negative Nancy's in the chat. JD's third. JD's third says, Ben, have we had any sweeps yet? Why are we 5-5 in the last 10 games? Well, because they got swept by Colorado. And then some games they have no offense. I'm not saying that this team's the perfect team, but they're over 500. They've had not a great year so far from Manny, from Tatis. Musgrove, Darvish has spent time on the IL. They haven't had Arraez the entire season. There have been some guys that have cooled off, and they're still around 500. So I'm looking at it that way. I'm not saying everything is great. There are things that can be improved. I'd like to see more consistent baseball. Yes, the Padres have swept a team. They have. I don't remember at this exact moment who that was, but I will pull it up right now because I do remember talking about a sweep. It was not in the month of May. It was, where was that sweep? Maybe they haven't. I thought haven't they won 4 games in a row? Wasn't the Giants, wasn't the Cardinals, wasn't the Cubs, wasn't the Brewers. I thought they swept the team. Wasn't the Phillies, wasn't the Reds. I guess not. Wasn't the D-backs. They had an opportunity to. Guess not. I thought they had swept the team. I think maybe I'm just thinking of all of the series wins. So no, JD's third. You have a point there. They haven't swept anyone, but like I said earlier, you do not have to sweep teams to make the postseason. If you win a bunch of series, you will win a lot more games than you lose, and that will add up, and you will be a postseason team. Sure, yes, teams sweep. Yes, over a course of 162 games, you should probably sweep some teams. But I'm talking literally, if you win a bunch of series, you don't have to sweep teams for you to still be in a good spot. So that's not the be-all, end-all there. Okay, JD's third. You'll be positive when they go on a 5 to 7 game winning streak. Okay. We'll see if that'll happen. To be honest, I don't think that I need them to be on a 7-game winning streak to like what I'm seeing. If they get, sure, I'd like them to win, 5 games in a row. That would be nice. But again, if they're consistently winning series, then that's what matters the most to me. Guess what? In the postseason, you don't have to sweep any teams to win. Don't know if you knew that, but you don't have to. You just have to win every series. That's all. Let's see here. Yeah. Well, I mean, Carlos says he's over 2023. Let's focus on 2024. I'm over it in terms of I don't want to talk about it, but I don't think I'll ever be over it unless the Padres win a World Series. I mean, let's face it. Okay, I'll spend like 30 seconds. This is it. It was the most talented team that I've had on paper in my lifetime, and they didn't make the postseason. You go to the NLCS, you get Tatis back, you have all these stars, you're selling out the ballparks, and it's there for you. You missed the playoff by 2 games because you had guys that were admitting to quitting. You had guys worrying about their future more than that current year. You had a manager not being willing to just cooperate with his GM just to, be agreeable and get through the frickin' season and go make the postseason. It's just frustrating. So no, I'm not over it, but yes, I'm over talking about it. I want to stop talking about it. No, I agree with this. JD's third. Yeah, we have to get to the postseason. Yeah, of course. You can't miss it. When you're the Padres, you're spending this much money. You have this talent on the team. You have the attendance. So many passionate fans. AJ Preller, he's still leading this organization, this front office. He's had so many chances. Yeah, you got to make the postseason. Can't miss it 2 years in a row. And after this year, still have 2022 as the only season where you made the postseason in a full season. Can't happen. All right. That's it. Talking Friars episode 600. Thank you all for the time. Padres, Yankees coming up. Yankees, they're playing good baseball. If I look at the schedule, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 35-17 are the Yankees. Rodon against Darvish on Friday. Stroman against Cease on Saturday. And then it'll be Clark Schmidt against Joe Musgrove on Sunday before the Padres finish out their homestand against Skip Schumacher and the Bad Marlins. All right. Thank you, everyone, for the time. I appreciate it. See ya.